Hi, welcome back to my channel, Sarah Lilly Makes. My name is Sarah and this is my journaling space here on YouTube where I like to talk about, document, and share all the things I have been making. Today's episode I'm going to talk about all the things I have worked on in the month of January. So if you're interested in what I've been up to, I invite you to grab a project, whatever it is you're working on, and let's get started. I do have two finished objects to talk about today, and I have a couple of WIPs and some acquisitions that I'd like to talk about as well. But before I get into that, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. It would mean so much to me, and if you're returning, thank you so much for continuing to be here and for continuing to check out what I have to say. I have a lot to say today, but I feel like I can't. So I'm just gonna talk about the knitting as it is right now. I have two finished objects. Like I said, the one that I'm wearing is a finished object, but I won't talk about that first. I'll talk about the first thing that I finished in 2026. And I finished a weekend hat, which is a pattern from Petiteknit. One of my winter plans was to make a couple of beanies, the weekend hat specifically, and I did that. I knitted this with Filcolana Peruvian Highland Wool in the color, I forget what color it is, but I'll put it on screen. I'll put the colorway number on screen, and I will also include below everything that I talk about today. So if I forget to talk about something, I will include it down below. So please be on the lookout for that if you're interested. This is the weekend hat by Petiteknit, and I'll put it on. Okay, so this is actually one of my favorite beanies, favorite beanie patterns. I feel like the weekend hat just fits so well, and it's such a quick and easy, mindless knit project. And yeah, it's a Petiteknit pattern, so there's not a whole lot to really say about it. But I used, did I say what I used? I used Filcolana Peruvian Highland Wool, and it's this gorgeous pink yarn. I did the triple fold. I knitted it the triple folded way. I had 4 balls of this yarn that I bought many moons ago. I feel like I bought this in like 2021 or 22 or something, to make something for my youngest, like a cardigan or something, when she was about 2 or 3. And now that is not enough yarn to make something for her. So I just had it sitting and I was like, okay, maybe I can just make a beanie with it. I used almost 3 balls of this yarn. And so I have 1 ball left, and I feel like I could just make a small accessory with that, and that will be perfectly fine. So yeah, I knit this according to pattern. I knit the adult medium size, and it just fits just perfectly. I don't like a giant poof at the top, so I feel like this is the right amount for me. And I've been wearing it a lot. I have actually not washed this yet, and it's been getting some makeup on the brim, which is to be expected, but that's fine. So I do want to wash it, but I've been wearing it so much that I haven't really had a chance to wash it. So I did how it's written in the pattern. I just did a regular cast on, and then the regular long tail cast on, and then I did the folding rows, the 2 sets of double knit setup rows to create the folded, like a neat fold, and then I did it again on this side, although I can't really find it because it kind of just blends into it. But yeah, so the second set, the second fold, And then I just knitted according to pattern. This is currently being worn inside out. So this is the wrong side of the fabric because I just really like how the decreases at the brim just looks neater, and like when I pull the, like when it's stretched out, because it kind of is stretched out on the top of my head, it just looks a lot neater, and I just like how it looks more. I really like Filcolana Peruvian Highland Wool. I've used it a few times in a few different garments, and I just like it a lot. And it's just soft, and yeah, not a whole lot to say about this. One of my goals for 2026 was to make a lot more accessories this year, and I feel like I've started doing a decent job with that because I knitted this, and then I have a WIP that is another accessory that I'll talk about when I get to WIPs. But if you wanted to turn it inside out like what I did, I would suggest you turn it inside out before you pull the last strand of yarn through, before you do the last set of decreases, because it will leave a purl. It will leave the purl bumps. They're very visible, but honestly, it's at the top of the beanie. It can't, you shouldn't be looking at the top of the beanie that closely anyway. So yeah, that's it for the weekend beanie by Petiteknit. I will be making more of these. I wanted to make a red one. That was one of my winter plans with some leftover yarn that I had. And I ended up going with this for whatever reason. It just jumped at me and I used this yarn instead. But I still do want to make the red one. So yeah, we'll get to that at some other point later in the year, I suppose. It's really dirty. I really need to wash this. All right, let's move on to my second finished object, and that is what I'm wearing. This is the Mouline cardigan from Lilly Knit. I will go back a little bit more so you could see the full outfit, the full garment. So this is knitted top down with a contiguous shoulder construction, I believe, and you're working increases along the neckband, the neckline here, and then you stop doing the increases and then you knit straight down. You're knitting flat, then you pick up for the sleeves, you knit the sleeves, and then you pick up for a button band. So the way the pattern is written, it is a ribbed button band, and I misunderstood what it was telling me to do at first. So if you're going to make this, I would suggest you follow the pattern, because I didn't quite follow the pattern for the button band. And so it is a ribbed button band, and you are knitting it, you pick up, if you're familiar with a double knit button band, you pick up similarly to how you pick up for a double knit button band. You're picking up all the stitches along, not all the stitches, you're picking up 1 out of 2 stitches for this. A double knit button band, you would pick up every stitch, at least in my experience for knitting double knit button bands. Some patterns have you pick up less along certain parts of the neck or something. But for the most part, you're picking up 1 out of 1 stitch. In my experience, I've had success doing that, and I assumed that because this looked like a double knit button band, I was supposed to do that as well. So I picked up 1 out of 1 stitch for most of this, and then I did along the neckband how it was written in the pattern, and then I did the same 1 out of 1 stitch going back down on this side, on the button side. Yeah, on this side, the left side. Anyway, so because it is ribbed, you pick up 1 out of 2, not 1 out of every 1 stitch. So that was my fault. That was my mistake. And as I was knitting it up, I realized that it was going to be pretty wavy, pretty just uneven. So I started dropping stitches off of the needle that was along the edge. I started dropping one stitch off of like every 5 stitches or so, just to try to accommodate for the ribbing. It kind of worked. Like there is a little bit of pucker at the neck. Like you could kind of see it. It's a little bit like, it sticks up. It doesn't lay completely flat like the ribbing button band should lay. But honestly, I'm not completely mad at it. I feel like it's learning. It was a moment of learning for me. So I realized that at some point I could go back and fix it. I'm not in the headspace to do that right now, so I'm not going to. And I like how it looks. It looks fine to me, so I'm fine with keeping it like this for the time being. I have a couple of projects that I want to go back and fix, like 1 or 2 things about it. And I feel like that's a project for this year. I'll do it this year. Just not right now. Right now is all about all the cast-ons for me and all the just working through new projects that I want to work on and working on my winter plans. So yeah, I didn't talk about the yarn. I'll get to that in a second. But overall, I really, really loved this construction, and I just used some vintage buttons that I had found a long time ago. I can't even remember where. I just have a collection of like a random assortment of buttons, but I happen to have enough of these, so I use it, and I feel like it just really elevates this and makes it look, I don't know. I like it. I like the whole look of it. I like the whole finished object. I like the sleeve length. I like where it hits me on right at my hips, just maybe like a centimeter below my hips, but just overall I just really am happy with this. Aside from the button band nonsense, that was my fault, not the patterns. I really like this. And Lynette has a chunky version of this that I would love to knit at some point too. And I feel like I'd love to knit it in a more solid color maybe. But this is great. Like, this is a great... My birthday is this week, and I feel like this would be a great birthday knit for me. I'm counting this as my birthday garment. So, yeah. One thing else I did differently is when you are joining the ribbing to the cardigan, when you're knitting it along, she instructs you to do it like you slip one and then you pass the slip stitch over or something like that. I can't really remember. I didn't do that. I just knit the last stitch on the needle, on my double pointed needle, and I knit the other stitch that's on the button band together through the back loop, like you would with a double knit button band. Yeah, and I just liked how it looked better. I feel like some of the stitches on some of the samples, or her sample that I saw, looked just like you could just tell that it was kind of knitted together. And I feel like knitting it together through the back loop just like makes it a bit cleaner, in my personal opinion. So I just liked it a bit more. And one last thing, sorry, I used, I attached a second button on the inside of this to hold it because they're kind of heavy, so they were like flopping around even more than this. So I did the trick. I saw it, I don't remember where I saw it from, and then I sewed a second button on the inside to kind of stabilize the outside button, and I did that with all of these. So this one I have to change because this is too light. Like, it's very, very light. I just used an assortment of buttons that I had. These are the same, and then these are the same. So I need to find more of these heavier buttons to add to the back. And overall, I'm happy with this. I feel like this was one of my winter plans for the winter 2025-2026, and I'm happy with how this turned out. The yarn that I used, yes. So I used Woolberry Fiber Co. berry merino and Suri alpaca. I don't know what their Suri alpaca is called, but it's a fingering weight and a lace weight yarn held together, and the colorway is Paris. So apparently Woolberry is closing their doors, and I missed their last pre-order, which is fine. She had said she was opening it for a week, and so I kind of just went by that. And I was like, I could wait and not have to worry about missing any of the yarn. But then she closed it that same night. And I woke up the next morning and I was like, oh no, I missed it. But it's fine. I have a bit of her yarn still in my yarn collection that I want to use up soon. That's one of my unwritten and unsaid, unspoken goals for 2026 is to use up quite a bit of my hand-dyed yarn quantities. If I could go so far as to say I would like to use a sweater quantity per month. That might be a bit bold, but I would like to try to do that, I think. Use a hand-dyed yarn quantity for every month of the year. Because I have about that much. Which is kind of embarrassing to say, but yeah. Anyway, moving on. So this is my last finished object. Just a toot. You can see it kind of poking up here. It's fine. It's fine. This has not been wash and blocked. This has just been steam blocked. But it did grow a bit with the steam block because it is superwash. It is a superwash yarn, and I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it. I know it might grow a little bit more with washing and blocking, but I think I'm okay. I think I'm okay with that information. I don't think it's going to grow significantly because I did aggressively steam block this to try to stretch it as much as it would stretch. And with that in mind, I know when I use superwash yarns, which is not my favorite yarn to use anymore, but I have it, so I will use it. I actually go down with a needle size or a size in the pattern because I know that it's going to grow. And in my experience, it's like yarn projects that I've used superwash yarns for, it grows like almost 2 sizes sometimes. So I just have to keep that in the back of my mind when I use superwash yarns. And I really like Woolberry's Suri Alpaca Lace. I feel like they're one of the fewer companies that gives you almost more than 400 yards per 100 grams. And I know not all Suri Alpaca Lace is the same. So I'm sure they probably source it from somewhere else. But in my experience, a lot of the Suri Alpaca Lace yarns that I use comes in like 328 yards per 100 grams. And normally I would need 4 skeins of Suri Alpaca Lace to make something in my size from like Explorer Knits or Sorella or what other hand-dyed Suri Alpaca yarns have I used? I think that's it, really. Those are the only 2 American companies that I've purchased Suri Alpaca from. Yeah. And Sisley, maybe? I don't know, actually. Have I bought Suri Alpaca Lace from them before? No, I don't think so. Anyway, I am rambling. I'm sad because their Suri Alpaca comes with like 425 yards in 100 grams. And it's slightly thinner, but it's not significantly thinner. Like it fulfills the purpose of a lace weight yarn just as equally as like Explorer Knits, in my experience. And I've used quite a bit of Explorer Knits and Sorella's Suri Lace in my knitting journey. So yeah, that's just a bit of extra information that is kind of moot at this point because they're no longer making yarn. Anyway, moving on to my WIPs, and I have quite a bit of WIPs to talk about. So I cast on a ton of WIPs because it was a means of staying sane in the current climate of the country that I currently reside in. So I'm not gonna ramble on about that. I feel like I have a lot to say, but I just don't have the energy to really share about that right now, so I'm not going to. But I appreciate those voices who have been speaking up, and I appreciate you. Thank you. Yeah, anyway, so I have a lot of WIPs. I'm losing my train of thought. I'm gonna start with the smallest and then move up to the largest. So I'm not going to talk about them in order of what I started or what is closest. I'll finish with what's closest to being completed. And honestly, none of them are. So yeah. Okay, the first thing I have is I cast on this triangle scarf from Sandnes Garn a couple of days ago while my daughter was at swimming or gymnastics or something. I just wanted a mindless project, mostly mindless project that I could work on while I'm watching her participate in her activity. This is a pattern from Sandnes Garn, but honestly, you do not really need a pattern if you can knit and purl and do increases, and if you are familiar with the Sophie scarf or the Sophie shawl, you are just not knitting every row. You're knitting the right side and purling the wrong side, and you get flat stockinette like this. There is a ladder here. Yes, I am aware. I actually laddered down to pick up a stitch right around here that was just hanging on by a tiny little thread. So I was like, I don't want to have to deal with that breaking later on, so I might as well just fix it. And so that's why there's a ladder there. And in a few other places, I think this one might be another ladder. Like, you can see straight through this. And that is because I'm not knitting this on gauge. One of my other unspoken goals this year was to experiment a bit more with gauge on like projects like this, or just projects that I don't, well, I'm lying. Actually, I have a project that I'm knitting off gauge that is a garment. So, but that's one of my unspoken goals, was to experiment a bit more with gauge. So the pattern is from Sandnes Garn, and it is using their Cashmere yarn, which I have knitted one other scarf with their Sandnes Garn Cashmere yarn. This is the yarn. And honestly, I just love this. This yarn is so... I don't have a lot of experience with cashmere. I feel like I have maybe one other company's cashmere yarn, Lang yarns, that I purchased on sale years ago, and I just haven't gotten around to using it. But this is the second time I'm knitting a project with cashmere yarn, and I'm really enjoying the experience. It is really soft. I've just been having a good time just knitting this because it's mostly mindless, and I'm keeping track of the increases in my head, which is sometimes not a good idea, especially as the increases get larger. I think I'm mostly on track with them, so I'm not too worried. And it's a scarf. Like, if I'm off by like 2 rows, it's not that big of a deal. Like, it's just gonna wrap around my neck and be that. That's that. So yeah, this is the color. Let's see, what color is this? It should have the color number on here. 4372. I think it's like some kind of burgundy. I mean, it is a burgundy color. The color representation on this screen is pretty accurate. And so you cast on with 6 stitches, and then you start increasing, and then you're slipping the last 3 stitches, and knitting the first 3 stitches to create the neat I-cord along the edge. And it's pretty straightforward. You're just doing an increase every 4th row on one side. So it's pretty easy to keep track of. Like I'm not even using the pattern. Until I get to the required number, no, I take that back. Until I get to halfway through this ball, it calls for 3 balls of yarn. So I'm planning on knitting close to halfway through this and then start the decreases. So the pattern is written to have 70 increases. I'm about at 50. So I am assuming I am probably like in between a third and a halfway through this side. And then once I hit the 70, I'm assuming it's probably about this much more. Once I hit that 70, I'll probably start the decreasing. But I actually want to get through as much of this yarn as possible. So that's why if I get through half of this and it's more than 70, that's fine. If it's less than 70, it's fine. Because I am knitting this on 4mm needles and not 3.5. That is written in the pattern. So that is my first WIP. I don't know that I want to finish this first, but I do want to finish this soon. So that way I can have an accessory in the month of February, because it is February 1st today. So that is the first WIP that I have. That is the triangle scarf from Sandnes Garn. And I will include below where I purchased my Sandnes Garn yarns and patterns, because I get asked that often. So yes, it will be below where I get my patterns and yarns from for Sandnes Garn. Okay. My next WIP is another Sandnes Garn project. I promise there are some projects in here that's not Sandnes Garn. I promise. My next WIP is the Zoe Zipper Genser. And this is a pattern from the Sandnes Garn Tynn Gynt book, which I will grab. It's from this booklet, but this pattern is also available as a dress in another booklet, and I will put the number here because I can't remember it off the top of my head. I think it's 2302, but it's the one with the Vienna blouse that I made for my daughter for her birthday last year, the end of last year. So this is the Zoe Zipper Genser. And I ripped out a bunch of it because I found there was like just some kind of weird stitch at the end. I had already cut the yarn to start picking up for the neck, the shoulders, and there was just some weird thing at the end of it, and I was like, I don't like how it looks. I might have to rip the whole thing out, because if you're not familiar, this is half fisherman's rib. This is half fisherman's rib knitted with Tynn Gynt and Tynn silk mohair. So it's not fun. Like, ripping out mohair, ripping out half fisherman's rib is not ideal. So I figured I might have to just rip the whole thing out, but thankfully I didn't have to. I ended up coming to about here in the knitting, and then I just had to pick up. I actually had to tink back one row because it's like knit one, it's a bit. So I just had to end up tinking back just one row. I put the stitches, all the stitches back on the needle, and I tinked back or knit backwards one row, and then I managed to just fix it. So I'm knitting this off gauge again. I say that. This is supposed to be knitted on either 3.5 or 4mm needles. And I'm knitting this on 4.5mm needles because I wanted an oversized, really oversized look. Now I could have gone up a size or two, right? If I wanted that aesthetic, but yeah, I didn't. I just went up a needle size. I'm knitting this on 4.5mm needles, and I don't remember the colorway name, but it's the same color for the, oh no, I have it here, actually I lied. So it's Tynn Pure Gynt and Tynn Silk Mohair in the same color, and the colorway number is 5811. And I had this yarn in my stash for, I wanted to make the heather sweater. That's why I purchased this yarn. It's a pattern from Sandnes Garn. Yes. It's a really cool design, and I just never got around to it. So I figured I could use it for this because I really like this color, and I don't have anything this color in my closet. So I feel like, I don't know. I like it. I did knit the whole back panel, and then I ended up ripping it back out. So it's kind of just been sitting in my little project bag for a few weeks. And yeah, I'm going to finish off that ball. And when I finish up that ball, I'll be done with the back panel. And then I can start picking up for the shoulders. I put some stitch markers where the shoulders are supposed to be picked up. And it's a very gentle sloping shoulder. Like, it's really hard to even see that there's a slope because of how just gentle it slopes. Yeah, that's the best way I can describe it. But you are shaping the shoulders with short rows. And my short rows I'm not very happy with on, not that side actually, what side is it? On this side, because you could see, I don't know if you can see very well with that, but it kind of puckers out a bit. And I don't really like how it looks, but I figured in the long run it'll be fine because I'm going to be picking up stitches right at that spot anyway. So hopefully that should accommodate for any of the puckering and any of the extra bit of gapping that's happening there. I'm hoping. But that is the Zoe Zipper Genser. I will share a picture. Let's see, a full picture of it. I made a zipper sweater for my husband last year, and I just really loved doing zippers. So this is the pattern, and this is it on. But I just really love how this looks, and I've been really enjoying Half Fisherman's Rib. I did measure, I talked about this being a little bit like oversized, but I did measure. I am not that far off of gauge. I'm probably like one stitch off gauge. So, and I blocked it too. So, I think I should be fine. It does look like it wears very oversized. Like the shoulder where the sleeves start is really low, you know? So I think I'll be fine. Yeah, I'm not like too overly concerned about it being too oversized, and I think that'll be fine. Okay, that is the Zoe Zipper Genser from Sandnes Garn. And then my next WIP is a pattern from Petiteknit. Okay, I wanted to make the Hannah V-neck sweater. That was one of my plans, my winter plans for this year. And I ended up deciding to go with the Hannah O-neck sweater. So I haven't really done a whole lot. I just cast on and I finished the back panel, and then I just put it down. And yeah, so I am using Atlas. So Sandnes Garn's one of their newest yarns that they just came out with. I'm using Atlas, and the colorway that I'm using is dark brown. I'm assuming that's what Mork Braun Alert is. So the colorway number is 3591, and it is really the yarn. I'm really enjoying knitting with this yarn. This yarn reminds me of Rauma's Fivel. Is that their DK weight, DK / worsted weight yarn? The one that I knitted the Magna Fletta Genser with. So I got the booklet from Garntopia with the yarn, and I knitted that 2 years ago. Just over a year, actually, because it took me almost a whole year to make that pattern. But this yarn reminds me a lot of the Rauma's Fivel yarn because it feels very similar in hand. I feel like the yardage is also very similar. I don't really want to compare this to Peer Gynt so much, even though they might be very similar in yardage. This has 50, oh it is, I think it is a similar yardage to Peer Gynt. 50 grams is 108 meters. So this is 70% Norwegian lamb's wool and 30% merino wool. I don't find that this is particularly soft, but it is not rustic or itchy like Peer Gynt would be. Like, it's very comfortable against my skin, just like the Rauma Fivel. And it feels, it's dry in hand, and it feels just like that yarn knitting with this. Feels knitting just like the Raumas. So I don't remember what that fiber content was. But that's okay. Anyway, I'm talking about the Atlas. So I have decided to go with the Hannah O-neck because I don't know why. I just changed my mind. I don't have a whole lot of V-necks in my closet, and I do want to have a couple of V-necks. So I feel like I do want to return to that idea of knitting a V-neck sweater this year. And I'm not sure yet what pattern I want to start that with, but that's a problem for another day, not for today. Anyway, this is done using like the European shoulder construction method, where you are knitting this gorgeous seam along the side, and that is done by doing increases on the right and the wrong side. I think that's it. Nothing else really to say about this. I don't know when I'll return to this, but hopefully soon. I have 3 other WIPs that I want to talk about. And let's see, I'll talk about the one that I am working on that I kind of am making up as I go. I'm going to call this my Valentine's cardigan because it reminds me of chocolate that you get on Valentine's Day. So I hadn't decided on a name. I couldn't think of what I wanted to call this. So I was just thinking maybe I could make this for Valentine's for myself. And then I said, oh, that's a good name for it. So why not name it the Valentine's cardigan? This is my own design, but not completely my own design, because this is knitted. Okay, let's talk about the yarn and everything, and then I'll talk about why it's not completely my own. I am using Double Sunday and Tynn Silk Mohair and Double Sunday and Alpaca Filcolana from Sandnes Garn. So the pink is Double Sunday and Tynn Silk Mohair in colorway ballet something, either ballet shoes or ballet pink or something like that. And then the brown is the Petiteknit Double Sunday. I don't remember what colorway. The number is 4081. And then I am using, where's the alpaca? Oh, no, it's not attached to something else. Okay, I'm using the alpaca that is not the same color. I will include the number down below. I don't remember what it's called, but I didn't have any brown Tynn Silk matched this. And I had this alpaca, so I decided to just go ahead and use it. I really love Alpaca Filcolana. I would use this yarn over Tynn Silk any day if I had the opportunity to. Not that I love Tynn Silk too, don't get me wrong, but this is so much softer. Like, this isn't soft, but I don't find it like particularly itchy or anything. I still like love it. But yeah, so these are what I'm using for my Valentine's cardigan. I was deliberating what construction method to do my cardigan with. So I am making this cardigan based off a cardigan I saw at Anthropologie when I was window shopping with my daughter a while ago. And then I found it online, so I'll include a picture here of what the finished cardigan looks like. It's a really cute, very feminine, very my style cardigan. There's like this gorgeous ruffle, and it's like these somewhat thin or medium stripes, pink and brown. And I just really loved it. So I was like, maybe I could make it. So I decided to that's my winter plan, one of my winter plans. So yes, I will get started on it. Why not? I just needed some cast on dopamine brush, I guess. I don't know. So the reason this is not completely my own design, I am knitting this my own gauge. I calculated my gauge and I did all of that stuff and figured out like my stitch counts, etc., etc. But I cast on with the Olga cardigan cast on because I wasn't sure how I wanted to do the stripes. So there are 3 patterns that I was going to use. One of 3 patterns that I was going to use for knitting the stripes like this, where the whole thing is knitted in a stripe. So I have the Hilton cardigan that I knitted 2 years ago. I'll include a picture of what that is. There is a giant wedge of a single color where you're doing the European shoulder construction, and because you're doing short rows and increases at the same time, it's hard to switch colors. So I decided because I wanted it to be striped, I will go ahead with this method of how the pattern of the Olga cardigan is written. So I did that. And the other pattern that I considered, it wasn't a cardigan, it was a pullover sweater that I made last year, the clear sweater, but the stripes actually line up along the shoulder seam and not at the back. And I really love how the clear sweater stripes line up. It's very, what's the word? It's not difficult to do. It looks like it might be difficult, but it just works really well. But I didn't want the stripes at the shoulder because I wanted this to be a drop shoulder cardigan. All of that to say, that's why I went with how the Olga stripes is written, because I wanted the trapezoid drop shoulder shape, and I wanted the stripes to all match up. So that's why that's not completely my own thoughts and design. So I did use how the Olga cardigan is written, the pattern. It's my gauge. I'm using 4.5 millimeter needles, and I am using double Sunday and alpaca and Tynn silk. So completely off gauge of that. So anyways, I'm really excited about how this is turning out. I did the back, as you can see, and then I picked up, and then I did my increases for the neckband, the neck edging here, and then once I finish the whole body, I'm going to pick up the ribbing for the front, and then I will do the ruffle collar at the neck. So I put some stitch markers here to mark where I want to stop my body ribbing, if that makes any visual sense. So yeah, it was a lot of yarn being juggled in this little bag here, and I'm happy with how this is turning out. I want to finish this by Valentine's Day. Today is the 1st, so I could definitely finish this, I think, with the larger gauge, the 4.5 millimeter needles. I think I could finish this by Valentine's Day, yeah, and have this done. Yeah. So that is my somewhat own design that I'm working on using the Olga cardigan for the back construction. And that is my 4th WIP. I have 2 more. I'm going to talk about this one very, very briefly because I've not made a whole lot of progress on this, because this requires a lot of concentration, and I just don't have the mental space to sit down and concentrate on this pattern. And I really, 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 I want to finish this spring. I don't know that that will actually happen because it is an all over fingering weight colorwork sweater on 30mm needles, and yeah, I don't think this is gonna, I would love to, but I don't know that I can finish this by April. I don't think so. But yeah, really, this is the Blome Sweater from Sandnes Garn. I'm not like that particular about my color dominance and holding the yarn. I'm not like paying that close attention to it, and I'm fine with that. I feel like some people might not be okay with that, but that's just how I am working on this project. Because I was knitting it with one hand. Like I was switching colors with one hand. And then at some point I decided to start actually using both hands. So I was using my dominant color in my dominant hand, the dominant color in my dominant hand, and then the contrast color in my non-dominant hand. And then it started kind of making the dominant color work. Like you can see that if you look really closely, you can see where I ended up starting to do that. You could actually see, like from here downwards, I was just knitting it willy-nilly, and then here you could see where I actually started knitting it with the dominant color in my dominant hand and the contrast in my non-dominant hand. If that makes sense. I am hopefully not speaking in tongues or anything. Okay, moving this along. This is the Blome Sweater. I'm knitting this with Tynn pure Gynt. It's a pattern from Sandnes Garn they released last fall. I feel like it's one of the archived patterns that they are bringing back, and they've, yeah, I really like this pattern. They have a children's version that is a round yoke. It's not knitted flat like this one is, and I want to knit that too at some point, but it is also fingering weight yarn on 3mm nails, so maybe not. And the last WIP that I have is something that's been lingering since August of 2025, and that is my Brady cable sweater. And yes, it's Sandnes Garn. I have a marker right here where I stopped, where I last talked about it, and it's right here. The Blome cardigan, I only knit 3 rows. That last cardigan, I mean not cardigan, sorry, the Blome Sweater. I had added 3 rows since I last shared that project. So this is the Brady cable sweater. Yes, it's a pattern from Sandnes Garn, their fall collection last year, and I am knitting it with the, oops, I apologize, I didn't realize I keep hitting the mic with my hands. I'm knitting this with the recommended yarn on the recommended needle. I'm knitting this with Sunday and Tynn Silk Mohair in the color 4381. Okay, that's not the same color. Wait a minute. No way. No, it's not the same color. I thought it was the same color as this, but this is a lot darker saturated brown. This is more of a burgundy brown, in my humble opinion. It's not brown. I mean, it is brown, but it has a burgundy hue to it. Let's compare. It's not the same as this. This is not the same color as Cashmere. I guess I am in my pink and brown era. Yeah. Okay, this is colorway number 4381. Did I say that? Yes, I did. 4381. Just going to compare all the browns, I guess. So these are the three these are the three browns I am currently working with, and then there's the burgundy on the top. Let's see. Okay, so they're all similar. I guess I have a type this year. Okay. Anyway, this is the Brady cable sweater. As you can see, it is an all-over cable sweater and cable and rib sweater. I'm really close to finishing the body. I was actually hoping that I could finish the body before I filmed, but I did not get to work on this very much this past week, because of all the other things. Okay, this has been a fun knit. I have quite a few errors in this. Where is it? Where are you? Is it on this side? No. There's a big giant gapey situation going on here. And that is because I found a mistake after I had already knitted quite a bit. So I decided to ladder up and try to fix it. I fixed it, but the ladder did not really resolve itself, and it's just there mocking me every time I look at it. But you know what? I actually don't mind. I feel like I'm gonna let this soak for a long time to try to resolve that gappiness, and if it doesn't resolve, that's okay. It's just, I'll just wear a brown tank top or something underneath it. That's totally fine. And then I ended up doing something similar here. You can see there's some loops, loop-de-loops at the bottom, because I started a cable too early. I started the giant cable a little too early. And I decided, I realized, and then I stopped, and then I continued knitting the giant cables regular, and then I came back around, I undid the cable that was not supposed to be there, and then it just left the loop. And again, I don't mind. So, yeah. It's getting spring. I'm I do want to finish this before it gets too warm, because like I said, this is all over cable and rib on 3.5mm needles. So it's taking a while, and I really want to finish it. I think this is the thing that I want to finish next, that I really, really am going to focus on. I'm going to finish this next, and then yeah. Yeah. What else do I have to say about that? I think once I finish the body, it's just the sleeves, and I think it's all straight. There are no decreases or anything along the inside, and that should be fine. Yeah, I think that's it. I love the back. I love the shoulder construction again. The European shoulder construction there. I love that nice seam. I mentioned that when I joined, on the first side that I joined, I did not match. Is it this side? No, not that side. I didn't match the cables up, but it doesn't bother me. Is it this side? No, that side is the matching side. It's this side. The cables don't line up between the top and the bottom. But it doesn't really bother me too much. But when I did pick up the other side, I did pay closer attention to make sure that they lined up. And that's it. I think that is it for my WIPs. Moving on to a couple of acquisitions that I have. And if you have been following me for a while, you might know that we are a big musical theater family. So when Explore Knits came out with their Wicked collection, I had to grab a couple of skeins because I just love Wicked. Anyway, I have a video. I have it on Instagram from like years ago. My daughter, who's now 17, when she was probably 5, singing Defying Gravity. Like I remember that particular year, I was like deep in postpartum with my youngest, not my youngest, sorry, my third. And that was like on repeat Wicked. And so she was singing Defying Gravity. Anyway, Instagram, so they removed the audio from a lot of like the older videos that you have. So I have no access to that audio anymore of her singing. And it was so cute. She was like 4 or 5-year-old singing Defying Gravity. Anyway, I had to get some of their Wicked themed yarn because why not? I got the oh gosh, this is the Carlsbad worsted in the colorway My Future is Unlimited, and they had the kit of this to make the book club cardigan. So that is the plan for this. I got what I needed. I'm going to make the book club cardigan sometime maybe in spring. I would love to cast on this and hopefully have this as something that I can have in my closet because this color is gorgeous. I mean, it's probably a little too dark for me, but I don't care. I really don't really subscribe to color. I should, but I don't. And anyway, the next thing that I have is the Don't Lose Sight of Who You Are in Boucle DK. I don't know what I want to make with this. I just had to get this color, this mossy green color in this boucle yarn. And yeah, I don't know what I want to make with this. I feel like I want to knit something bomber jacket-esque. With this, I feel like this would suit it really well. And I don't have anything, oh no, I lie. I do have something similar to this color for myself in my wardrobe that I like. The Millie Tee that I knitted last year, but it's not this exact same shade of mossy green. It's the matcha from Sandnes Garn, the matcha colorway. And the last thing that I have is, It's Good to See Me, isn't it? And yes, it is similar to this, but I don't mind at all. I'm planning on making a blouse with this yarn. And I was thinking either the Vienna blouse that I made for my daughter, the Vienna blouse from Sandnes Garn, which is a pattern that I made for my daughter last year, December, for her birthday, the red one. And I used double Sunday for that, but the recommended yarn is 2 strands of Tynn silk. So I feel like I might not have enough yarn. Yeah, because that has a flounce. So I don't know that I will end up making that pattern because I don't think I'll have enough yarn for that one. Or the Malou blouse, which is also another Sandnes Garn pattern. And I will include pictures of what I'm talking about so you have an idea of what. It's in a booklet, one of their older booklets. It's in the one, I'll include the picture of what the blouse is. I can't remember what patterns. I think that's it for what I have to talk about. I really, really love this yarn. Like, it's pink and purple and blue. The sweater that I have on, the Mouline cardigan, is just pinks with brown. So it is different than this. It's not quite the same, but it's very similar. So a blouse in this, I feel like would be very springy and very appropriate. I think that's it for what I have to talk about today. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I hope if you haven't already liked and subscribed, please do so. That would mean so much to me. And I would love to know what your 2026 plans are. If you have anything specific that you are planning on making this year, I'd love to know. in the comments. Please share, and please follow me on Instagram and Ravelry if you haven't already. I am pretty active on Ravelry with my projects and Instagram stories. I'm there from time to time, but I really want to be more active on there as well. It's just hard. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I will see you next time. Happy knitting. Bye.